James here with the Oracle Outlook for the week starting March the 25th, 2019. Thanks so much for tuning in. I am so glad to have you here. This week I'm continuing my Cartomancy style decks and system streak that I've been on, coming off the heels of my month of tarot. And this week in particular I wanted to work with a Kipper deck. So I'm working with a new deck of my collection. I'm so excited about this deck. So the deck that I'm working with is Rupa Dudley's Kipper carton. It is by an artist named Rupa Dudley, of course. And so I will be leaving a link in the description box below to a video that Rupa made showcasing her deck. So you can see all the cards in their glory. I was very excited to support this project because Rupa is a painter. She's a fine artist. And she strikes me or reminds me of my brother. My brother is a visual artist and he paints as well. And so that was the main reason why I wanted to support it. I felt like I was supporting an artist in a way vicariously, like I was supporting my brother. But I really wanted to support the project, so I was glad to do so. And I got permission from Rupa because the last time I used a Kipper deck in this space, Rupa was kind enough to watch the video and left me a comment, and the comment said that it was time for me to invest in her deck. And she said LOL. But I took that as permission, you know, because it doesn't take much to enable me when it comes to new decks to go ahead and get her deck. So that was all I needed. And so I'm very glad to have it. The deck is amazing in my opinion because it comes in a nice metal tin, so I didn't have to get a bag or an additional kind of box or packaging for it. It comes in a metal tin. It was fantastic. And the deck not only has the 36 cards that you will find in a standard Kipper deck, but it has a lot of extra cards. You can customize the deck and make it something all your own. And so I did just that. So I will let a little tidbit out. There's an amazing card in the deck called the Fortune Teller card, and I love this card. So that card, actually, you know it had to go in the deck, right? So that card is in my deck when I use it. So it would be very funny if it actually turns up in the reading, now that I'm talking about it. But that was just one of a number of cards that I took out as far as extra cards and put it in the deck. And I'm not really an extra card in the deck kind of person, right? But I couldn't help myself with this one. There are so many extra cards. It's a beautiful project, and I was so glad to support it and support Rupa by doing so and to have it in my collection. So again, I'm going to be working with the Kipper carton deck by Rupa Dudley. And so now that I've talked about the deck, let's now move to the table and take a closer look at the cards that are going to be turning up for this week's Oracle Outlook video reading. And here we are with the cards on the table. And I'm going to take a few moments to shuffle the deck. And just as I do every week for these weekly general readings, I'm focusing on the intention that we're going to receive information, guidance, and advice that's going to be helpful and beneficial as we move through the upcoming week. Feeling one more time will be good. And now I'm going to go ahead and cut the cards. Fan them out. And now I'm looking for 5 cards in the fan that are getting my attention. I'll be doing a line of 5 like I always do. Card 3, card 4, and now I'm looking for the final card for this week. And I'll take this one. It's card 5. So these are the cards that are selected. I'm going to take the remainder of the deck up. And I'll put that to one side. And now I'll line the cards up. All right, and normally when I work with Lenormand, I like to start with the center card, but when I work with Kipper, I tend to read the cards as a storyline from left to right. So looking at the card that's opening the line up, this week we have, and here we have change. Okay, so change represents a change in circumstances, and it's a direction card. So normally it's read with the direction going from right to left because Rupa has included a visual cue, and it's the bird right here in the bottom of the left-hand side of the card, and the bird is facing to the left. So what I will do is I will draw a card. After we go through the rest of the cards, I will pull back and I will draw another card to place here, because what this card is, it's a transition card or a movement card. So what it's saying is like the change in circumstances, the source of the change is here, and then what we're moving towards, or what's going to be affected by the change, is going to be on this side, right? So again, change just usually represents a change in circumstances. And the other visual cue about the change here is the butterfly. Butterfly is a traditional symbol representing some kind of change or transformation or a transformative process. Plus, going with the visual, you have a change in seasons, it looks like, right? So as I'm talking about that, the change card usually represents a change in circumstances, and the other cards would tell us what kind of change. But just with the one card itself, it could be representing the change in seasons. We're moving from winter to spring, so there's a change in that. But it makes me think of the more classic expression where there's a season for everything. So what could be the season in your life that may be coming to an end, right? And it's setting the stage for you moving to the next season, right? But change usually represents a change in circumstances. So now I'll move on to the next card. Okay, so now remember, now this is what is prompting the change, or the source behind the change, what we're moving away from. And here we have gift. Gift is another movement card, and usually it represents movement down because of the package on the card. So if I'm pulling back, I'm going to draw another card here, I will place an additional card here, because usually the gift card usually represents what's being handed down. Right, and so we'll look and see what's underneath the gift. But gift in and of itself usually represents a gift. It can represent some kind of celebratory event. I tend to look at this as a party. So it could be saying too, like what's prompting the change in direction, change in circumstances, is that something is being celebrated, right? So this also too, because of the image, we have a Christmas tree. So this could represent a holiday, you know, any kind of event where gifts are being exchanged. So this could be a holiday, a birthday, some other kind of celebration, right? But the gift usually represents something where a gift is being exchanged. So this could literally represent a gift. It could represent an invitation, and that would be an invitation maybe to a party or a celebratory event. I tend to look at this card as something being presented to us, playing on the word present, which is another word for gift. So there could be a situation where something is being presented to us that's setting the stage for some kind of change. Right? So here we have change and gift. Gift being a gift in and of itself. Something in terms of event, that's a party, holiday, some kind of event where gifts are being exchanged, or that there's going to be something presented to us. I usually call this like an offer being presented to us that may be playing a role or a part. Right, so I'm seeing that. And so now let's take a look at the center card. And here in the middle, okay, so here in the middle we have prison. So prison is a card that can represent a block. It also is a card that can represent some kind of limitation or restriction, right? Sometimes this card can come up when we're dealing on maybe wanting to move beyond limitations and restrictions, considering the fact that we have two movement cards on this side of the line, right? And we already have change in direction going this way, so we're moving away from prison if we take that into account. So this could just be a matter of where we're focusing on maybe what our blocks are, the ways in which we feel confined, that we feel stuck, that we feel trapped, you know, and whether that's an external type of prison, you know, a circumstance that we may be feeling trapped or confined in, or maybe a situation that's like a prison of our own making. Right, so there may be an opportunity being presented to us. If I go with the direction of the cards, there's an opportunity being presented to us that allows us to change our direction, change our circumstances. But the intention here, or the focus, is about moving away from whatever our blocks are, whatever we consider holding us back, confining us, some form of limitation or restriction. So that would be prison. So now let's look at the next card. And here we have, Now, isn't it very interesting? I talked about limitations or restrictions, and the name of this card is setbacks. Now, if you're a traditional Kipper reader, this is known as short illness, right? So usually this card can turn up when we are in a process of recovery, and that would be recovering from maybe some sort of limitation, restriction, confinement. Now, these two cards would indicate for somebody, if we go with the idea with the image here, that we're talking about maybe something having to do with health or physical well-being, then this may be a hospital, because prison in that regard would represent a tall building, right? And it's a building in which there's confinement, right? And so somebody may have been confined to a hospital in a process of recovery, right? And so maybe the idea here is we want to celebrate being able to move beyond that. So now if there is a focus on limitation and restrictions, and this card is talking about a down patch. This card usually can represent a timeout or a break. Usually it represents something being forced upon us. So there may be some sort of forced break, forced timeout, forced rest, you know, some kind of recovery. And you know, healing process. So I'm seeing that. So it could just be a matter of if somebody is wanting maybe to move beyond limitations and restrictions, then it could actually be, because I'm looking at the interaction between the two people, it would be maybe somebody to discuss the situation with who can help you move beyond it, because the woman in the card is writing a prescription for the gentleman in bed. Now I'm seeing this. Because of the man in the bed, for some people, it may be a relationship in which you feel some sort of limitation or restriction or confinement, because the fact that he's in bed can represent some kind of physical, intimate relationship, because this is known as a sex card. So somebody may be wanting to move beyond that, maybe seeing how sexual relations have confined them, have gotten them trapped in a situation, and they're wanting to move beyond that. They're wanting to change that. It could even be that you are wanting to move beyond, you know, maybe being in a relationship where maybe it's based on sex and sex only. But again, setbacks represents moving beyond something of a down patch, something in which you feel like you need to recover from, or wanting to move beyond some kind of rest, timeout, break, but especially if it was a situation where it seemed like it was being forced on you. And then for some people, this may actually be an actual recovery process in terms of physical health and physical well-being. Again, somebody was either in some kind of hospital or some kind of convalescence, but I'm seeing that.
So that's setbacks. And now taking a look at the last card before we pull out. Okay, and here we have another direction card. So now here we have journey. So very interesting, we have two movement cards. We have change and we have journey, both on opposite ends of the line. So one's going in one direction and journey is facing the other direction, right? So it's making me feel like maybe the reading is being split into two different directions. Maybe for some people are going to resonate with what's going on this side, and some are going to resonate with what's going on this side. But journey represents, just like change, it's a travel card or a movement card. So again, we're seeing something where we're moving beyond the setbacks. So if I have to say something in terms of doesn't matter the direction, it seems like with prison as the focus, this is the week where we are setting an intention to wanting to move beyond some kind of limitation or restriction, because journey is moving away from setbacks and gift and change are moving away from prison. Right? So now journey can be literal, a literal travel card. So there may be for some people, maybe the forced break or the rest period is going to set the stage for some travel, maybe some vacation. I'm looking at the woman on the card and it looks like she's on a boat. So for some people, this could literally represent, maybe going on a cruise. You're in a spot where you have the time and the availability to do so. So I'm seeing that. So this could be literal. And then this could also represent something long distance, something overseas, going with the water in the background. But I'm going to take it more with the maybe more metaphorical aspect that we're moving beyond limitations and restrictions, places in which we feel stuck or we feel trapped or confined. So now I'm going to go ahead and pull back the cards because we're going to add additional cards to the line. All right. So now let's do that. So now we're going to add 3 cards to the line, and as I'm doing this, I'm going to also tilt the camera down a little. Oops. All right. So now we're going to place a card to the left, to the right, and below the gift. All right, so first things first, I'm going to shuffle for each card. So first we're shuffling for the change. And we're asking, what more do we need to know about the change? Now I'm going to cut the deck. Fan the cards out. And now I'm looking for one card. I'm going to pull this one to put next to change. And it looks like I have to reorient the camera, so I will go ahead and do that. In just a moment. Now, I'm shuffling for the card to place beneath gift. Alright, now I'm going to do the same. Can't see it, but I'm cutting the deck. Fanning the cards out again. Now I'm going to take a card, put that underneath gift, like so. Pick the cards up again. Now we're going to do one more time for Journey. All right, again, cutting the cards. Fanning them out. The card is going to go next to Journey, and I'm taking the remainder of the deck up. So now we'll see where we go from here. All right. So again, we have the Change. We have Journey. All right, I'm going to move things over slightly. There we go. That's the perfectionist in me. All right. So now do it in order of the cards that they were selected. So the card next to Change, remember Change is moving from Gift to this card, and the card we have is Leisure. Okay, so one of the new cards or the extra cards in the deck. So I will hold it up closer to the camera so you can see it. So this is the Leisure card. Okay, so for me, Leisure represents just like setbacks, but maybe more positive spin on it, where this is about downtime, leisure time, doing something relaxing, right? So that's my take on leisure. So we're moving away or moving towards maybe creating some leisure time. So it could just be a matter of, if we go with prison being the focus, maybe this idea about being trapped, being confined, limitation or restriction, then it could just be moving away from things that we feel are creating blocks to maybe leisure, relaxation, things of that nature. If we go with the idea that in between Change is gift and leisure, so maybe giving yourself the gift of leisure time, relaxation, being able to unwind, right? The interesting thing that I note is that the tea cup is on top of a stack of books. So this could just be a matter of knowledge being accumulated that we haven't put into any kind of practice or action. You know, it's knowledge that we are resting on, you know, knowledge that we are not doing anything with. One of the things here, if we're talking about leisure, you know, going with the image, it could be somebody finding the time to curl up with a good book. I'm seeing that. Or maybe to catch up on some kind of reading, because all the books on the card are works of fiction. So it could just be saying too, like, how can you create time? Notice there's a clock in the background. How can you create time for those kinds of activities, especially if you are an avid reader, or at this point in time you may be like me and your coffee table has a lot of books on it. Even though I love to read, I call myself a book collector at this point because I probably have more books than I am creating time to read, going again back to prison. So since I shared that as a personal story, that might have resonance with some other people watching this video, right? So there's that idea about what can you do to create downtime, leisure time, relaxation in maybe a more positive sense than the setbacks card, right? Now the interesting thing to note about this card also too, going with the imagery, and so what I do with these extra cards, I really rely on the imagery, right? So here we have the symbol of a four-leaf clover. So here we have maybe, if we're going with a change in circumstance, and here we have the bird closest to the four-leaf clover. So the change in circumstances could be somebody's luck is changing for the better, right? And so this could be, you know, about opportunity, good luck, fortune coming your way, all the things that maybe a clover would symbolize. But it's small, so it could just be saying too, like, pay attention to the little bits of luck that come your way, right? So maybe instead of looking for maybe a huge, sweeping, epic kind of change in circumstances, it may be something that's still fortunate, but it may not be something that's relatively big in terms of size, or quality. So I'm seeing that as well. With that, the other thing about this card that strikes me is that there's a lot of green and a lot of reference to green. All the books have the title green in it. We have the Green Mile, we have fried green tomatoes, we have Sir Gawain and the Green Knight. So there's, and green tea, right? Even the tea is green. And the clock face is green. So there's a huge emphasis on green. So since that's popping out, green is a color of healing for me. When I think of green, I think of healing. I think of the heart chakra, right? So all of this could be saying too, like maybe the leisure could be about doing things that you love to do, but maybe have gotten away from, right? So how can you bring those things back, right? And again, going with the clover, it may not have to be like you have to overhaul your life in a huge way, but what small thing could you do to kind of change your luck around that? What would you be willing to create and make time for, going with the clock in the background? It could just be a matter of being mindful. If you are a tea drinker, maybe one of the things you could do is sit and drink tea, but be mindful as you're drinking the tea, right? If you're going to read a book, really be present in the activity of reading the book, right? It's making me feel like now my whole Zen Buddhism thing is coming into, like maybe this is about practicing mindfulness in calming, relaxing activities, right? So that's how I would look at the leisure card. The biggest thing with me is this is about relaxation, creating downtime, leisure time, things that you love, things that you enjoy, going with the green. And green is again a color of healing, so maybe we're moving into maybe a more healing time, and that's the way we could combine leisure and setbacks, because setbacks is also a healing kind of card. It talks about healing and recovery, right? So I'm hearing in my head, I'm hearing the song called The Love I Lost. So maybe it's about regaining the things that you love, right? Because that song is about losing something or someone, in the particular case of the song, that we were in love with. So it's about how can you reclaim things that you love. And it doesn't have to be a person. It could be just an action or an activity you enjoy. But maybe how can you bring more of that back into your life, I'm just saying this for me, and somebody else may relate to this. If I go back to gift being about birthdays, I just recently celebrated a birthday. And so sometimes what can happen is that when we're in the space where we're looking at our lives in terms of birthday, and very interesting here, we have a clock in the back, right, of the birthday card or the gift card. Maybe there's a time in our lives where we get to a place when we're saying, now's the time to create change, And so maybe somebody's celebrating some kind of birthday or anniversary or some kind of milestone that's precipitating this need for change, right? And it could be, I'm just keeping it real, it could just be a matter of somebody saying, I'm not getting any younger, so if I don't make the change, when am I going to make it, right? So there's that to consider. All right, so that is the one card. So now let's take a look at the gift card and what's below it, because now remember, now this is about maybe the possibility of an offer being presented to us, right? So let's take a look at what this might be. Oh, this is great. Okay, so here we have the bonus card, and if you are a traditional Kipper reader, this is known as unexpected money or unexpected income. So bonus is a card for me that represents two things. It can represent a surprise. So I love the fact that it's underneath a gift. So this could be a gift that's a literal gift that's a surprise. So this could be a surprise party, surprise celebration, that kind of thing. So for some people, there may be an event that comes as a surprise. The other thing about the bonus card, it represents some kind of improvement, right? And so since we're connecting the cards, if we connect change with gift, the opportunity that's being presented for us or to us is going to allow some kind of improvement, right? And that would be another way of saying moving beyond limitations, blocks, things that hold us back, that keep us stuck. Whatever the prison is, keeping it relative, whether it's imposed or a prison of our own making. All of these cards are encouraging us to move beyond that. So I love that. with bonus at the bottom. Okay, so now let's turn our attention to what's on the other side of the line with journey. So the card next to journey is, oh boy, this is great. Okay, so now here we have on the other side, we have success. So I'll hold the card up. So we have success. If you're a traditional Kipper reader, this is known as good outcome in love. So the fact that it's at the end of the line represents a good outcome to a situation, right? It represents a good outcome. It represents success. Now, going with the imagery here, I talked about, very interesting, when I was talking about the leisure card, I talked about the song about the love I lost. So now the two figures here can represent a relationship. So now here we have for somebody maybe moving beyond limitations or restrictions that allow them to move into journey, move into a relationship. It may be that you've gone through a healing process, you've gone through a recovery process, moving beyond a place in which you feel stuck, limited, confined. Now, this could also be withdrawal, right? When we're in prison, we're isolated, we're alone. So somebody wanting to move beyond the space where they're alone, wanting to heal and recover from that, and then they're ready to move on, and they move on, and maybe they're wanting to experience a new relationship. Now, I'm dating myself because you know that I'm good for hearing old songs. So I'm hearing an old Barry Manilow song called I'm Ready to Take a Chance Again. And so this could just be for somebody. Oh, very interesting. And I talked about the clover, right? And the clover can represent chances. So somebody may be ready to embark on taking a chance and moving into a new relationship, right? Wanting to explore that. Right? So there's that. Now, the dog on the card can also represent a friendship. So if it's not a romantic relationship, there may be something about a successful friendship. The dog can represent a friend. Can also represent something having to do with loyalty and trust and faith. So maybe a new relationship in which you feel all of those things. Or it could be a relationship in which you get some help or some support. I see that with dog as well. Dog represents not just loyalty, but faithfulness. So with that in mind, it could be twofold. It could be all of those things that you are extending to another person as you're embarking on a relationship. And so maybe something about healing, some kind of trust or trust issues in relationships, working on that and getting to the other side of that, right? Or it could just be about having faith and trust in yourself. Another aspect of this card for me is about trusting our own instincts, our own intuition. That goes back to the dog. The dog would represent instincts. And so for me, this card can represent trusting our instincts. You know, and it could also just be like you are in a space where you are seeing some success in the relationship that you're having with yourself. So for some people, this could be about, you know, you embracing aspects of yourself and moving beyond those. You know, you're learning to embrace maybe the not so positive, all the ways that we create setbacks and limitations, right? Those aspects of ourselves. And you're learning to love those parts of yourself. And then for other people, it's about moving beyond those so you can move into a space where you are relating to other people this week, either in the form of a relationship or the beginning stages of a romantic relationship, possibly, right? So there's that. But no matter what the specifics are, this is a nice card to have because of the word success. So it's about how can you move beyond limitations and restrictions and setbacks this week so you can reach some level of success. And success is relative. So the first thing we each have to do is, when we're talking about our lives, what is success to each of us? Because for each of us, it's going to be a very different thing. And so on that note, I'm going to go ahead and end this week's Oracle Outlook here. I'm James Himm Mitchell, and as I wrap up, I'd like to thank you for sharing space here with me for this week's reading, And I look forward to sharing the same space with you again in our next video reading together. So until then, I'm hoping that you have a wonderful day. And I'm hoping that you have a wonderful week. Take care.